Welcome to Table Talk here at the Philadelphia Sports Table Podcast Show, the longest running weekly Philly sports podcast show in the world. Just about 13 years. We're coming up on it here in April. We've been doing this podcast. If you're watching us on YouTube, welcome. If you're listening to us on whatever podcast platform, thanks for being here. It's great to be back in your ears this week as I was on vacation last week. Co-hosts had some time off as well. I'm Jeff Warren. We got a ton of Philadelphia Flyers talk on our Table Talk interview show this week. And joining us from BroadStreetHockey.com, we absolutely love having him on every now and again. Ryan Quigley, my friend, it is good to see you. Good to be able to talk to you about this team, even though they've freaking sucked as of late. But thanks for joining us, man.
Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to talk about this very exciting and elite ice hockey team, the Philadelphia Flyers.
very elite, right? We're going to be getting into that eliteness on this this discussion here. Look, to start the conversation off, Ryan, I mean, there weren't many high hopes for the Flyers heading into the season. I mean, if we go back to last summer, we go back to before the season started, so many of us talking about this team, what the expectations were going to be, which is why I think that strong start to the year caught so many of us by surprise. And they seem to initially, at the beginning of the season, solve their goaltending issues. Trevor Zegras seemed to have paid major dividends for this team, but they teased us, Ryan. They teased us here at this losing streak, this absolute collapse here. The messy hockey that we've been consistently seeing over the past 11, 12 games here has been absolutely brutal. Is this a case of, and I'm going to phrase it like this, is this a case of the old Denny Green, from the old NFL coach, they are who we thought they were type of moniker, or is this just an unfortunate and unlucky losing streak? And again, I'll use the phrase collapse that they have been on here. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah. R.I.P. Dennis Green. What a king he was.
Yes.
Honestly, I think this is just a lot of their issues catching up to them. Right?
Okay.
So earlier on in the season, there were a lot of positive things taking shape. Dan Vladar was playing great. He's still playing great. But I think it was a combination of Dan Vladar playing well. Trevor Zegras was playing out of his mind.
Defense was also playing fantastic, by the way.
Yeah, defense was playing well.
Yep.
Exactly. Tyson Forster hadn't gotten hurt yet.
Right.
It just seemed like there were a lot of things kind of going the right way. And it felt like the Flyers were finally on track of, early in the first month or two of the season, people were like, wow, this looks like one of the better teams in the East. And, by points percentage, there was a point where they were the fourth best team in the league.
Yes.
By points percentage. So it's just like, I think over time, I think a lot of their deficiencies caught up with them. They lost Tyson Forster. He's out for the year. The goaltending, like Dan Vladar, he ended up getting hurt for a little bit. And so Sam Ersson had to come in. Anytime Sam Ersson plays, it's hard to not just chalk it up before the game even starts as a loss. And I hate saying that because I like Sam Ersson.
That's the reality, though, at this point.
I like Sam Ersson as a guy. And as a player, there was a time that I believed in him. I don't believe in him anymore. He's given us no reason to believe in him on a consistent basis. So I think, and then finally of all of that, the lack of skill. So early in the season, we saw Trevor Zegras playing out of his mind. He's going through a slump right now. And now all of a sudden they can't score goals aside from Travis Konechny, apparently.
Right.
So it's just, I think there's a lot of issues going on. The Matvei Michkov situation certainly isn't making things better. So
we're going to get to that in a bit.
Yeah. So it's just, I don't think it's, this is, typical Flyers. I think they were on a good path, but it just goes to show that they are still so far away.
Yes.
And that's why I think Danny Briere and company came into this season kind of tempering expectations, saying we're hoping to be competitive, but we're not expecting anything. And I think that's kind of the right mindset to have going into this year.
Yeah, it's a really good segue right there into the next topic. You mentioned Danny Briere, and I think the collapse has really put Danny Briere in a bind as we're all looking at this trade deadline, as various NHL teams are looking at the trade deadline, what this team needs, what's available, perhaps on the market. And then again, you remember Flyers president of hockey operations, Keith Jones, saying at the beginning of the season, this wasn't going to be a, quote, a playoff or bust situation. They wanted improvement. And quite frankly, I think we've seen signs of improvement in various aspects of this team, but the injuries have caught up with them. I guess the question is here, and I think I may know the answer, but I just want to put it out here on our podcast platform. Should Danny Briere just stick it out with what he has, or do they need to acquire some talent before the trade deadline, in your opinion here?
Yeah, so I think it's kind of a complicated situation because on one hand, I don't think they should be sellers at the trade deadline.
Right.
I do think there are some players that they could sell. Like, I think if a team comes asking about Rasmus Ristolainen, which at this point, I don't know why any team would. He can't stay healthy. And when he plays, he's like, at best, he's average.
Right.
There was a time, last season, he was really, really good when he was playing. That hasn't been the case for a while. And so can't stay healthy, hasn't exactly been lighting, the world on fire. And, but if a team calls about Rasmus Ristolainen, sure, maybe you consider that. If a team calls about Bobby Brink, listen to these calls, but I don't think they should be seeking out selling players right now.
Right.
Now, on the other hand, you're right. I do think that they should be trying to acquire talent. And the way to do that doesn't mean I think they should be buyers either. I don't think they should be looking to sell or looking to buy. I think what they need to be doing is, at this stage, looking to make hockey trades. Truly, that's what I believe. Because, and I said this on Flyperbole this past week with my host, Steve Jaco on Flyperbole. Danny Briere and Keith Jones, they keep, and this is going to sound really harsh, but they keep whining and moaning about how hard it is to find a first-line center, about how hard it is to find centers in this league.
Yes.
You got two really good ones available right now. You got Robert Thomas available. You got Elias Pettersson available. And theoretically, it seems quite likely that both of them are gettable at this moment. I can tell you right now, they're not going to get Elias Pettersson because guess what? Rick Tocchet doesn't like him. So that's not going to happen. You got Robert Thomas, who is a Stanley Cup winning center. He's a top line center for the St. Louis Blues. He's a very good player. He's young. He's 26 years old. It just seems like if the Flyers they just keep talking about how hard it is to get a center. Well, you know what? At some point, you need to pony up.
Yep.
And you just need to trade assets.
Yep.
I get it. You don't want to trade Owen Tippett. You don't want to trade Bobby Brink. You don't want to get rid of some of your draft picks because you're still trying to commit to this rebuild. But you know what you need? You need a first-line center. You do.
Yep.
Make something happen. Make a hockey trade. No more buying. No more selling. Definitely don't start buying yet. We need hockey trades right now is what they need. And, inaction is not going to get them anywhere.
Yeah.
To do something different. And if you have to, in journalism school, they always say, and this is going to sound insane, but they always say, kill your babies in journalism school, which basically means if you have a paragraph that you really, really like, but it just doesn't totally fit in the end, you got to cut it. Sometimes you got to do that with players that you really like too. So
absolutely.
I just, if there's one thing the Flyers are going to do, they need to start making these hockey trades and getting the pieces that they think can help them win a cup. Because this overabundance of wingers who are good but not great,
right?
That's not going to move the needle that much. In my
Exactly. It's a holding pattern that the team has been in, and I think a philosophy of the front office. Now, I give Danny Briere a ton of credit because he's not Chuck Fletcher, and perhaps I should stop saying that because I've been saying that now for quite some time. And I am grateful Danny Briere is there in this capacity for sure. But this holding pattern, you absolutely hit the nail on the head, there has to be some movement. You have to land the plane at some point because the holding pattern just isn't going to generate positive results at the end of the day. And I think that because of that, and before we go to break here, Ryan, I wanted to ask you about what is the most frustrating aspect of this team, best part about this team as well? Because initially, I said, there are certain expectations that are being met, I think, this season based on what we thought this team was going to be. Danny Briere, again, in a very tough situation before this trade deadline, but like you said, by his own doing, by the front office's own doing, but assessing where the team is at right now in terms of where they need to be and getting out of that holding pattern. What has been the most frustrating aspect of this team so far? And then we'll talk about what the best part of the team has been so far. So what is that for you here at this point?
Well, I can tell you right now, and I think a lot of people are going to agree with this. The Matvei Michkov situation
Yeah.
is easily the most frustrating
Yeah.
part of the season because after his incredible rookie year, didn't win the Calder, but he was very much in the running. And like, listen, it's Macklin celebrating. What are you going to do? He's been great.
Yeah.
But I think the way, and listen, there's a lot that goes into this. He did come to camp out of shape. There's been a lot of talk about that. There's no doubt about that. But his usage and his not great relationship with Rick Tocchet right now has been terrible. And I think that is easily the most frustrating aspect, is because you come into this season so excited to see Matvei Michkov take this next step. Slow start to the year. Every once in a while we see glimpses, right? Then all of a sudden his ice time is waning. About a week ago, he got 10 minutes in a game. He got less than some of the fourth liners. And it's just like, what are we doing here? This is the face of the franchise right now. They are built. He is the symbol of the rebuild.
Right.
You're getting 10 minutes a night. What is this? And so to me, that's by far the most frustrating part of this entire season is the Michkov Tocchet situation. Figure it out.
Yes.
Figure it out. Because Tocchet, I'll tell you right now, Tocchet's not going anywhere. Michkov certainly isn't going anywhere. Like I just think back to the John Tortorella, Vincent LeCavalier situation where they both got sat down by their general manager when they were in Tampa, and they were just like, neither of you guys are going anywhere. Shut up, figure it out,
right?
And we're gonna win some cups. Like that has to happen. Honestly, it's ridiculous that this is where we are right now.
Yeah. What's the best part of the team so far, in your opinion? I mean, is it the goaltending with Dan Vladar and the surprise that he has been? That's kind of up there a little bit for me. What is it for you?
If you asked me this a month ago, I would have said Trevor Zegras.
Okay.
Just the fact that he's been on a slump lately, that kind of takes away from it. That's not to say that I don't think that he's been awesome for the team. I would definitely say he's up there. But you're right. I do think it is Dan Vladar because he has been, against the Senators the other night. That game doesn't even happen. That doesn't even end up going to overtime if it's not for Dan Vladar playing the way he was playing. And then it feels like that has been such a trend throughout the season is Dan Vladar playing so well. And then the Flyers either forcing overtime or getting a win or making a game close that had no business being close because Dan Vladar was playing so well.
Yeah.
I think, it's funny because I just remember, and I think we talked about this before, where they bring in Dan Vladar in the offseason. People are all up in arms. Who the hell is this guy? They're confused about this is supposed to be the savior of the in Philly. And it turns out he's been awesome. He's been very, very good. And what I like about him is, I can't remember what player said it, but one of the players during their media availability not that long ago basically said something along the lines of like, yeah, Dan Vladar is not a captain for the team. He could be. And we kind of saw a little bit of that during the Senators game. We've heard about it multiple times from players, coaches. He's communicating with the bench between whistles, between commercial breaks. He'll go over there. He'll be yelling at the guys, not like in a toxic way, but he'll be communicating. He'll be talking. And I think it just seems like he's really fitting in really well with the Flyers. And I mean, aside from maybe Trevor Zegras, Dan Vladar is absolutely the darling of the 25-26 Philadelphia Flyers, I would say.
Absolutely. It never ceases to amaze me, Ryan, how with this Flyers team, there's always something good over here. Always something good. And then over here, there's crap. And it just kind of balances out here. And again, I use that phrase, we're in that holding pattern with this team because of it. It's so incredibly enraging. But look, before we go to our break, I want folks to know where they can find you. You talked about Flyperbole over at BroadStreetHockey.com. Great podcast. Where can folks find you online if they want to catch your work and what you're doing out there?
Yeah, well, first things first, follow Broad Street Hockey. It's at Broad Street Hockey,
.com.
You can find us on Blue Sky, Twitter. Follow Flyperbole. Follow Steve Jaco, who's the primary host of Flyperbole. He's at Flyperbole on Blue Sky.
Yep.
And then you can follow myself as well at Ryan Quigs with a Z on Twitter and Blue Sky. So
all right,
that's where you can find me.
All right, very good, folks. We're going to take a break. When we get back, We're going to dive into more Matvei Michkov, Rick Tocchet, questionable lineup decisions that he has made, and what our expectations should be for this team moving forward after the Olympic break. Stick with us. We'll be back in just a bit. All right, we're back with our good friend Ryan Quigley from BroadStreetHockey.com to dive into this Flyers team even more. And as frustrating as this team has certainly been, the one individual on this team that we were so looking forward to seeing his development this season is one Matvei Michkov. And as you talked about before the break, it's just been incredibly frustrating to see his usage, his minutes, the lack of development overall. So I'm not here to say that Matvei Michkov is some sort of bust. I don't think Flyers Nation in general believes that he is. There are various dynamics at play here, Ryan, but I want to talk more in detail about Matvei Michkov from what has been impressive thus far, because so there's certain aspects of his game that are positive. Yeah. And there are certain aspects of his game that are very underwhelming, which we'll get into as well. So let's start off with what has been impressive with you that you have seen with Matvei Michkov so far this season.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've still seen some flashes of the Matvei Michkov that we saw last year, right? Yep. We're not seeing it consistently, but we are seeing it. For example, against the Senators last week, I remember there was one portion of the game where he was in the offensive zone and he was literally skating circles around the offensive zone.
Yeah, yes.
He looked like a figure skater.
Yeah.
And nothing ended up coming of it, but I remember he did a full lap around the offensive zone, does another half lap, gets behind the net, and does kind of like a nifty little feed to what was intended to be to Owen Tippett right there at the doorstep. Owen Tippett was not even prepared to get the puck there.
Yep. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
If he was prepared for that, that would have been a very high danger scoring chance, possibly a goal. So like we're seeing those little flashes of I say vintage Matvei Michkov as if he's been in the NHL for 20 years, but right. We're seeing flashes of what we saw last year. And there was another play not long ago. This was a little bit further back, but can't remember the team, can't remember the game, but I remember he had some space. There was a guy kind of pursuing him. He kind of gives, I think that also might have actually been against the Senators. He gives him a little back check, forces him off of him.
Yeah.
Away, creates the open ice, right? Creates open ice for himself, sets up a guy for a goal. It was an excellent play. So we're seeing the Matvei Michkov that we saw last year. The issue is that
let's get to the underwhelming stuff here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good segue. Yeah. The bad now is a couple things. One, the consistency. And mainly I would say that was more of an issue early in the season when there were conditioning issues. And we saw it. He would be out on the ice for 30 seconds. He's skating to the bench looking like he just ran a quarter marathon. He looked absolutely winded at the end of some of those shifts. Now I'm not seeing that quite as much. I feel like he's in shape now. But the consistency is still lacking. I feel like specifically earlier on in the season, we saw him making the turnovers were really bad earlier on in the season. I mean, he was making some passes and trying to make some plays happen where I'm like, dude, what are you even seeing out there right now?
Yeah.
This is crazy. This is not like you. I feel like we're seeing that a little bit less now, but it still does exist. And, then if I had to, it's hard to put this on him, but the other underwhelming thing is the ice time. That goes to Tocchet.
Yep.
It's so mind-boggling to me that the face of the rebuild, the face of the franchise right now, you go to a Flyers game, 50% of the people who are there are wearing a Matvei Michkov sweater. Dude's getting 10 minutes in a game.
Yep.
How does that happen? That can't happen. Dude's not getting ice time in overtime. How does that happen? Can't happen. And it's so frustrating that it's not working out. And I think the fear is that people are nervous that he could get tired of this and, be driven out of town and force his way out. We saw what happened with Elias Pettersson and Rick Tocchet in Vancouver. Elias Pettersson, 100-point player. Since dealing with Tocchet, dude's struggling to hit 70 points.
Yeah.
So it's which is still good, but it's just people are mortified of that possibly happening with Matvei Michkov, and I get it. I totally understand it.
Yeah.
And
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's frustrating. No, I was just saying that's a very frustrating aspect of this.
It is like, and I think that so many of us in Flyers Nation, we have given Rick Tocchet a lot of grace, quite frankly, over all these months. Why? Because he wasn't John Tortorella, and we were just so tired of the John Tortorella mentality, the style of coaching, and we have given Rick Tocchet that grace, but his lineup decisions are perplexing after every loss. When you look at it, hindsight, yes, being 2020, but still some of these losses are just lifeless when you reflect on these games. And it's a direct reflection, in my opinion, of how this coach is not only coaching, but again, the lineup decisions that are perplexing. And I'm wondering if there is a case to be made during this collapse here that Rick Tocchet just isn't the guy. And not only do I want to get your thoughts here, but are those individuals who have said that online? And yes, we know there's that contingency of the Flyers fan base. It's always knee-jerk reaction. I do wonder if there is some validity to it. Like you said earlier, he's not going anywhere. Matvei Michkov, not going anywhere at all. But I'm wondering if he is not the guy. And I don't know if I'm being fair thinking about this, even after just a few months at this point. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, you just said it. Like Tocchet, he signed a 5-year contract.
Yeah.
Flyers head coach. I mean, year one's going pretty goddamn bad. Sorry, I don't know if you can curse, but I just
That's
did.
fine.
But it's going pretty horribly, and it's not like there's an easy way out. And I know people say like, "Oh, it's Comcast. They'll just, if they want to fire him, they'll just fire him." Sure, they could do that. They don't want to do that,
right?
So it seems like at the very least, if it is not what Danny Briere and Keith Jones were hoping for, I don't think they can feasibly just be like, all right, you're out. That's not a good look for the team either. So I don't think he's going anywhere this season. I will say if this bleeds into next season, Tocchet, team isn't prepared to play every night.
They got to sit him down then. They got to sit him down.
That Ottawa Senators game was as bad a Flyers game as I have ever seen. A good coach does not let that kind of game happen. And listen, teams play poorly sometimes. It's just how it goes. I mean, that's just unacceptable how they played that night. And if this bleeds into next season and they're not winning games, they're not competitive, Matvei Michkov isn't happy, he grows more disgruntled with his usage, you have to do something. You have to do something because, as I said, Michkov is the rebuild. This whole thing is built around him. If he starts getting upset, he can't go. Because then you're starting over from scratch.
Right.
You have to do something with the coach. And I'm sorry, but I know you gave him this 5-year, $25 million contract. Doesn't matter. You need to protect the vision and what you're hoping to be building here. And coaches come and go every 3 years. That's just how it goes.
Yep.
They're so dispensable. It's not even funny. Just let them. You have to let them go if things don't improve next season. I think that, frankly, I'm at the point where this season's a wash. Yeah. I really believe that. They're not going to the playoffs. What they need to focus on now is continuing to develop the kids. Michkov, at the end of the season, if Porter Martone's available, bring him up. Play Denver Barkey. I saw that Denver Barkey's minutes got cut because in order to give Michkov minutes, you got to take minutes from someone. Of course, he takes the minutes away from Denver Barkey, one of the better, most encouraging looking young players on the team. Why take minutes away from someone else who doesn't deserve those minutes? It's very perplexing to me, Jeff. It's very frustrating. So
we're at that point.
There's a lot of work to do. Rick Tocchet has a lot of work to do.
He does. And I think Danny Briere is going to, in the front office, they're going to have a conversation. They're going to have a tough conversation of, the stubborn nature at which you are coaching and what does that mean for the future of the team. And I guess, that it's a good segue. And what you were initially just saying right now, I know it's a general question to close us out here, Ryan. I mean, how should this team approach the remainder of the season after this Olympic break here? I mean, there are certain realities we're seeing, but how should they approach it? I guess the playoffs, who cares? I honestly, at this point, and even if they did somehow luck into it, it's not like anything's really going to happen. I'm always of the mindset of, okay, draft picks are important.
Yeah.
Let's continue with enhancing assets for the future with regard to this rebuild that we've been talking about now for how many years. How should they approach the remainder of the season here?
Yeah, so kind of like what I was saying, I feel like they need to prioritize the development of their young kids. Let Zegras play center, right?
Yes.
I know he's been playing wing a lot. And, Tocchet even said it in his interview with PHLY that had everybody up in arms. Like, I think they need to just really embrace Trevor Zegras as a center for the rest of the year. Just try it out. Let it happen organically. And I think they need to focus on things like that. And by all means, I think they should. I think the team as a mentality should have the intent of, we want to win every game. We want to go to the playoffs. Like, I want to see them playing hard to go to the playoffs. I want to see that. As a fan, I would not be like, I'm being realistic. They're not going to the playoffs. I know they're not. They don't have the talent. It's just not going to happen. But I still want to see them playing hard. So I want to see them playing hard, and I want to see the kids developing and improving on their craft. I feel like that's the number one thing that I want to see before this thing finishes up here. And I just, one of my fears is I just don't want this to go completely off the rails.
Right.
Where, I don't want this to reach a totally nuclear cataclysmic event like what happened with John Tortorella and Cam York last season.
Yeah.
God forbids. Like, what if this happens again? What if Tocchet and Michkov are just going at it so much and there's a blow up in the locker room? Like, can we stop the circus here? My God.
Yeah.
I just don't. I want the rest of the season to just be calm, Jeff.
Yes.
Just be normal for the rest of the season.
Just be normal. Exactly. Exactly.
2 months. Just be normal for the rest of the year. So
it's not a lot for us Flyers. It's not a lot for us Flyers fans to ask.
No,
it really isn't. It's not. Again, folks, he's Ryan Quigley from BroadStreetHockey.com. Check him out on the Flyperbole podcast as well over at BroadStreetHockey.com. Always love having you, man. It is great talking with you. And I hate trying to be optimistic when it comes to the Flyers. I really do, because they're heartbreakers. They really are. But my friend, I'd love to have you back on the show to maybe talk about some good stuff with this team at some point down the road. Man, come back and join us. I'd love it.
Next time I'm on, I'm hopeful that there will be a lot more exciting things to talk about. So we'll see what happens between now and then.